Alright, sorry about that, guys. Had a interruption to the video, so I'm going to try to stitch these two videos together. I'm not that good at this, so I apologize if it doesn't look well. We're almost done here. We're almost done with the units, and then we'll get to the spells, which should be quick, I hope. So we just finished talking about the sarcophagus. The last three summons are actually really important because these are, I guess, outlets for your gems, and they're all three of them are really good. They're all sacred. They're all high hit point units. The first of which is the Scarab. The Scarab's 80 hit points on a size 6 with garbage stats, very high strength, very high protection, high magic resistance, high morale. This is literally a giant tank. To add to that, it being a tank, it's going to get Fire Flare, which is going to hit for 20 AoE 1, so like a Firebrand effect. And it doesn't need to hit. It's just going to strike that one square in front of it for 20 AoE 1 fire damage. This is a very good unit. The problem is it's kind of expensive. It's 5 fire gems each, and Fire 3 is difficult to cast. You need a Fire 2 random Sorrowmancer, and then you got to give them a Skull of Fire, which you don't get until Construction 6. So it's difficult to get these guys early, but they're absurdly powerful because of that high protection. They're sacred, and they have that Fire Flare attack. Now, there's a second version available to only the Statisticians, the War Scarab. And this version, you still have the same attacks. But the problem is now you had Trample. So there's a size 6 Trampler. So it's no longer going to do that Fire Flare unless it runs into a size 6 enemy. In pure combat, that is worse, in my opinion, than having that Fire Flare attack as it tramples around. I mean, it's a big elephant with high morale and high protection. Like it's still very good. I just prefer the other version better. That's just me, because you have enough tramplers already. The other part that it gets is it's going to have this plus 25 siege bonus, which is useful. I think more useful to the other Statisticians better, because you as LA Statist will have hordes and hordes of reanimated siege staff, always. So siege bonus, by the time you can start summoning these guys, you don't have a problem with siege strength. And again, it's just Conjuration 5. Now it's 6 fire gems each instead of 5. So personally, I like the other Scarab better than this one. And then the final unit is the Serpapard. This thing is disgusting. It's going to have 42 hit points, size 4, high protection, high magic resistance, high morale, very good stats. 2 attacks, which one of them has a death poison attack, death poison rider, and again at high strength. Resist poison, stark vision. It's going to have chaos power, so if you have turmoil, this is what you want to use. If you have order, do not use these. It's going to have fear and formation fighter, so 2 of these can fit in a square despite them being size 4. They are slash and pierce resistant. So on top of the high protection, high hit points, 2 to a square, they have almost a temper flesh. They're weak against blunt attacks. That's fine. Also, to add to their weaknesses, they're animals, they're magic beings, and they're undisciplined. So if they run into Moonblades, they're doomed. Animal spells can affect them, although luckily for an animal, they have high magic resistance. The, I guess, real problem with it would be the combat speed 22 and undisciplined. But what you just do is you have these lined up behind your chariots, and since the chariots doesn't have formation fighter, they can't fit in the same square. That's theory in how it should work in my head. I haven't actually done it yet. I'm just starting to summon these at the game where I'm at. But these are pretty darn good. If you can get them, you need Jade Amazons, pretty much. But a Jade Amazon with a little water bracelet, and you can start pumping these guys out. 6 water gems for 2 of them. They always come in pairs. This is very good. You have some sort of bless. And then just as kind of like a sneak peek into what my bless might be, if you're noticing, as Elicitus, all of your sacreds tend to have some sort of high natural protection and no armor. So like these guys, 18, 20, The netters are kind of exceptions, although even this guy, 12 natural protection. So no, not even. These mummified soldiers, 15. Or they're not sacred, but crocodile, 14. Your undead, 11. So to me, that kind of says, hey, if you want more protection, Heartskin. Because Heartskin's going to stack. It's going to bring these Scarabs up to 25 protection each. These Serpalpards that have that they're resistant to stuff to 23. Each of your Tomb King's going to have 16 natural protection. It's like if you cast Stone Skin. All of your mages will have 11 natural protection just on their own. I think that's pretty great. All right, so those are the summons. We're going to get to their spells. And we can skip almost all of these now because... hold on. We'll go. More interruptions. All right, jeez. All the interruptions. Anyways, so coming over here, you're going to have this that the other statistics in DE do have reanimation and undead, but you're the only one that's going to have these like holy spells to give the magic resistance or extra attack skill and combat speed. The important one is really just the magic resist one, because now your lizard undead, long dead, or revenants, or whatever they are, they have already higher magic resistance than like Armorian ones, because lizards versus humans. And now this is pretty much anti-magic. I guess the other citizens have an easier time casting literally anti-magic itself, but any of your holy threes can do this. The collaterals, so these are mostly units. They get this spell here, Statistician Reanimation. This is more if you need immediate siege shaft. This is very efficient in mage turns, but it's difficult in the long term to justify because it's going to go 12 death gems. You're going to get 25 long dead and 25 soulless, regardless of the corpses in the province. So that's actually kind of useful to know, because usually if you want soulless, you need corpses. And you're a living nation, so you're not going to be Ormor that has corpses all the time. This spell benefits double from any reanimation boosters, magical reanimation boosters, be they items or spells. And what I mean by that is if you have something that gives you +2, like the Amulet of the Dead, you'll get 27 long dead and 27 soulless. The long dead is just the random amount of long dead, which includes the trident lizards from before, which are really good. The soulless are always going to be lizards, so slightly higher magic resistance, which is neat. But this is purely just a siege shaft spell that you might cast early if you start winning your early war. Let's keep going down. Sorrow Lichcraft. Oh, that's just summon Lich. Release. Butcher this. I say shoot or shoot, but I'll say shoot to just be me. It's a lot of text, but really what this is just going to do, this is a 20 armor negating damage mind burn. It's going to be a death 2. Ooh, it's a death 2 spell at a fairly good range. Good casting time. It's going to hit one person, always, for 20 armor negating damage. That is magic resistance negate. So they can negate that 20 armor negating damage part. That is enough to kill a Zuyedin, for example, if obviously die rolls are in there. But usually this will kill whatever human-sized target it hits. And then regardless of the magic resistance check, it's going to summon a shadow. And shadows aren't the greatest, but you're getting it for free as part of your absurdly strong, powerful mind burn. They're useful if you're fighting people that do not have magic weapons because they're ethereal and their attacks will paralyze. So it's kind of like Mind Burn Plus, because not only does it do 20 armor negating damage instead of 12, you also get this free shadow. So if you have 10 mages casting, 50 of the spell throughout, 5, cast it 5 times per mage, and you have 10, you're going to have 50 shadows and 50 instances of 20 armor negating damage. Devastating. It's a very good spell. Disease warding. Oh. Well, there's no text here, but what disease warding does is it makes whoever mage casts it disease resistant. 50% disease resistant. And how that works, and just from when I used to test the half dead bless, what disease resistant works is if you are diseased, or I guess to get diseased, you have a 50% resistance. If you are already diseased, you have a 50% chance of that disease affecting you that turn. So essentially, this will make your unit immortal in terms of dying to old age. It will not die to old age because it needs to lose all of its health to disease. To die, work with me here on as I talk about it. I know it sounds dumb. They need to lose all of their health, but each turn they only have a 50% chance of being affected by that disease. So if they roll positively and they are not affected by the disease for a turn, that means that they regenerate back to their full health, which means it's absurdly difficult to die to a disease if you have this on you. However, the turns that you do roll, the negative effect of the disease, you still have a high chance of taking afflictions. So it will save your mage from dying, but they will still take afflictions. Of those afflictions can be those like mute and feeble mind. So it's a hard sell for 6 death gems to be doing that to save a mage. Opening of the mouth ceremony, this is what gets you that sarcophagus. Only the S randoms can do it, but otherwise it's fine. Poison immunity is Serpent's Blessing, but it's available at enchantment 5 instead of enchantment 7. Otherwise, same exact spell. And this is important because at 6 or 7 poison resistance, that's not enough to ignore foul vapors. You need at least 10. Anyone who's played Ctis has probably seen it happen where they think that they don't need some sort of poison resistance, and then they start losing mages or units, and they're shocked because, well, I thought the lizards didn't need to. No. 6 or 7 is not enough. You need 10 to ignore foul vapors. So between the 6 and 7 and this 10 additional you get from this spell, now you can ignore foul vapors, which mostly is difficult anyways because LA Ctis it's hard to use foul vapors as them in the first place. You'd have to do it through your god usually, or through empowered or well-equipped Jade Amazons. In DE itself, foul vapors has been moved from enchantment 5 to enchantment 6, and the cost has been increased to, or I guess the paths. You need it needs to be cast by a nature 3 mage essentially, because it's nature 3 and 2 nature gems. Nature 3, water 1, and 2 nature gems. So a nature 2 cannot cast it. So it's absurdly difficult to cast foul vapors anyways, but if you can cast it, or if someone's using it against you, you have this spell earlier instead of after. Usually you get the resistance spell after the big spell comes in. Children of the Netters, again, this is how you get these dudes, those little sacred guys. Beast of Chaos, this is most of them. I'm going to skip this one real quick. Sorrowmancy is a +6 reanimation bonus. This is useful again if you cast Reanimation, or again in Statistician Reanimation it counts double. I don't see it, here it is. So if you cast Sorrowmancy for a +6 and then cast Statistician Reanimation, you'll get 31 Long Dead and 31 Soulless. Kind of neat. So you see maybe a situation where you might cast this more often with like an Amulet of the Dead and Sorrowmancy being cast. You'll get a lot more of these guys. Call the Great Bulls. Your provinces get 5% income per growth scale. So if you have growth 3, each province will get 15% more income, which is kind of neat. And then, places get attacked. Whoopee. This spell, I've considered casting it in my game. The problem is I won't always have growth scales in my provinces, and that's because of this spell here. Light the Bane Fire Braziers. It converts fire gems into death gems, and it increases the heat and the death scales of the province and allows you to recruit Keeper of the Tombs. So I guess go in reverse of everything I just said. This means your Keeper of the Tomb is no longer cap only. You can recruit it anywhere you have the spell up, even if there is no fort present. However, to cast the spell, you need a lab, and the spell itself requires a temple. So essentially, you need to have a lab temple without a fort to benefit from that Keeper of the Tomb recruitment. Or in my case, you have this in all of your forts, or most of your forts, and now you recruit Keepers of the Tomb because you need research. Who knows? It's an interesting rider that's kind of like, if you want to use it, you can. If you don't, whatever. The heat and death scale thing is important because now maybe you're in a situation where you're attacking into somebody that has cold 3. You don't exactly have your candles there, but if you cast this in their castle or whatever that you took over, you can use this to increase the heat scales because fighting cold 3 as Ctis sucks. The death scale increase gravitates, it kind of flip flops between -1, 0, and 1. So if you have growth 3 in your scales, at worst you'll have death 1, but not always. On average, when I look at the provinces and how they're growing with this spell going on, I see their population not moving at all. I literally see them staying stagnant. So essentially, you're going to trade fire gems for death gems at the cost of population. Now, and the fire gem, how to work, because this is a spell that has drawn a lot of opinions when I asked on the servers, on the on the helping the immersion server. I asked about the spell and what people thought, and it's a very late payoff. So in a normal game, maybe you might not cast this. In DE, in this crazy game that I'm in, there's like 70 players. It's gonna go on forever. So there's time for this to work. And how this does is you're gonna pay 3 fire gems. That's the minimum cost, and this will stay up for a minimum of 2 turns. I guess you'll hit the ticks twice. And what I mean by that is if you cast this for 3 fire, the turn you cast it, you will get 1 fire and 1 death gem. And then the next turn, you will get 1 fire and 1 death gem. So you've converted the gems essentially to fire to death at a rate of almost 1-to-1, or at a rate of 1-to-1, and it costs you 1 fire gem to do it. If you put this up for 10 turns, it's going to cost you 13 gems or something like that, and give you 13 death gems back, and then 12 fire gems back. Something like that. The math has always been awkward. I never actually wrote it down because I'm lazy. The end result I got is I have fire gems, I need death gems, I need to cast this everywhere. Again, in a standard game, you might not want to do that because there might be better things your fire gems can do for you, like fire elementals or lightless lanterns. Who knows? Things, stuff. This is a very late, long-term payoff spell. However, it's important for this nation to function because if you're like me, I have a lot of death gem sites, or not as many as I wanted for a while, and this spell made the difference for me. So it just depends on what you are, what stage you're in, but this will give you a lot of death gems that you will need to summon more Tomb Kings that will get you chariots. That's most of their spells. Yes, that is their spells and their summons. Their items list is short. Let me remove this search. They have 3. They have the Book of the Dead at construction 8. Only the statistics can make this. There was only 1. This will let you, it gives you a +1 magic to your death in your misc slot, which can be useful. And it lets you cast the spell Ritual of Rebirth for free, which is if you have heroes, it'll summon them back as a mummy. That's kind of cool. It's hard to get heroes as Ctis because you don't really have thugs and stuff until later on. Then you have the Scorpion Lords and such. But it's useful. You have the Heart Scarab, and this is it's going to replace the heart. So you're going to take that chest wound of the -5 reinvigoration. It's going to give you 4 back. But what it's going to do is it's going to give you 4 extra magic resistance and extra life. So you're pretty much trading. You're going to lose 1 reinvigoration for 4 magic resistance and extra life if you die. Kind of neat. You can't be used by your inanimate being, so none of your like undead mages can use it. Whatever. The problem is it's rather expensive. So do you really want to make this? And then the final item, the one you need that nature random Sorrowmancer guy for, is the Jade Mask. This is a lot of protection for the head, +2 death path. Magic resistance, regen, resist poison, dark vision. Has to be cold-blooded unit to use this. So your undead lizards cannot use this. Has to be the living ones, which is fine. Your best death mages are alive. It's going to auto-cast Rigor Mortis. So that really good death mage that is alive is going to get tuckered out real quick. So I hope you have something that's going to give it reinvigoration to counteract that. It's very expensive to make, and it requires, look at that, death 6. But once you get this, you can have at least one absurdly high death mage that can do whatever he wants, really. Even if you put on the person that crafted it, now that is a death 8 mage, casual death 8 mage. All right, so that's going to cover most of the spells, the units, and yeah, I think that would end the national overview for Ctis. I didn't really go over, I guess, other spells that might be useful to them that are just not national, but we'll hit those during the series. So with that, see you guys next time.